With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
We continue our countdown of our best 11 interviews of 2023 with an episode with SUNY Cortland head coach Curt Fitzpatrick. Cortland just defeated defending D3 national champion North Central in a thriller in the Stagg Bowl 38-37 to win their first national championship. Coach Fitzpatrick joined us at the New York State High School Football Coaches Association Clinic at the Turning Stone Casino in February. We discussed the process of evolving an offense each year to be able to attack opponents and best utilize your own personnel. As you sit down and plan what your offense will look like in the next year, this is a good one to revisit. Congratulations to Coach Fitzpatrick and the Red Dragons on their 2023 National Championship. Here's our number 9 episode of 2023. Enjoy. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes. As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. We're at the New York State High School Football Coaches Association Clinic, and a guy I sat down with last time, I believe he was at Morrisville.
That's right.
Briefly, and I had to immediately change that before we aired the podcast. He is now the head coach at Cortland State University, Curt Fitzpatrick. Curt, it's great to have you back here.
Thanks for having me back. Yeah, the last time we spoke, I was the head coach at SUNY Morrisville, and 3 days later was fortunate to be named the head coach at Cortland. So thanks to your flexibility getting that worked out last time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll link that podcast in our show notes. And, we really dug into a lot of your influences and things you believe in as a coach. Today we're going to focus on something specific, something that relates to your topic here, which was about your vertical passing game. But more so than that, kind of the process that you use to get to certain things and the way you add things to your offense. And before we got going, you and I talked about a lot of that just starts with philosophy of who you want to be. It's not going out, we get great things at these clinics, but it's not going out and grab bagging all these ideas and trying to fit them in. It's figuring out first, who are we and what do we need to move this offense forward.
Yeah, I think it's as a coordinator or when a staff, every year you're trying to build your group and build off of last year and try to figure out what type of offense that you're going to be. You got to have a vision, I think, for what fits. There's a lot of great scheme out there, as everybody knows, but I think finding things that fit our philosophy, that fit how we want to attack, that fit our players is very important. And for us, the vertical passing game, 4 verts, 3 verticals, fit us. It's what we want to major in. It's what we like to do for a lot of different reasons. It's multiple. It stresses the defense horizontally and vertically. Those are all things that we think are important, and because of that, that's why we run 4 verts. That's why it's the first play we install every time we go through install, and why we invest so much time in it is because we believe in it. And in football, if there's something that you believe in as a coach and you can get your players to believe in it, you can have success with that. And there's a lot of different things like that, like we just kind of talked about before we came on. It's like running the option. You don't just run the option here and there. If you're going to run the option, you got to be an option team. I think every offense has to find their flavor and major in it and be themselves to have success.
Yeah, I think that's one thing you can learn from looking at the niche offenses, whether that's teams that identify as wing T or option or air raid. And there's something to be said about that. They identify in that because they're not dabbling in it.
Right.
They, as you said, they major in it. Like, this is what we believe in, this is what we do, and for them, they'll fully commit to it. And being a multiple offense, sometimes that's the danger, is what do you major in and how does it fit? And when you get the new idea, where does that fit in? So it all does start with philosophy and looking at that. What parts of your philosophy help you define, like, yes, this fits, or no, it doesn't, and how much you're going to invest in something?
Sure, yeah. Well, I think when we talk about being multiple, we define that as having the ability to win a game more than one way. So multiple, we want to be able to, if we're playing a team that wants to play split safety defense and the safeties are out of the run fit, we want to be able to run the ball successfully with whatever scheme we like. We're a zone team in the running game. You know, if we're facing a team that's playing with one high safety and the numbers in the box, you know, we're -1 in the box, the defense is +1 in the box, you know, we want to be able to throw the ball, and we do that. So multiple, I think, for us is we can run it or throw it to win if we need to, but within the running game and the passing game, having an identity that our kids believe in. But obviously, you got to be fully committed to drilling it and teaching it and researching it and finding ways that we can coach it the best way to help us be successful.
Yeah, the research process, I think, is so important. And when you're looking at something, what's the approach you take? Again, you could be at a place like this, see an idea and say, wow, you know, be blown away by it, really, because, I mean, let's face it, you know, we're not putting on the plays that don't work.
That's true.
Right? You're going to see the best of the best of what you had. So I know, especially when I was a young coach, it would dazzle you in these clinics, like, wow, I got to go do that.
Yeah.
But what's your process for really figuring out more about that, and with any concept? You know, I mentioned, you know, 4 verts was something we wanted to install after the 2009 season at BW, and so our research went in multiple directions, wasn't just one place. But for you, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think finding different resources, not just one coach or one school. These days, with all the things that are out there, that, you know, the stuff that you're doing with podcasting, and there's so many resources available. Years ago, it was just you had to go visit someplace and sit in person, and that's certainly one way that we do it, but there's also so much out there. I think trying to gather as much information as you can, because there's many different ways to coach one play, finding a way that fits us the best. But anytime we want to add something new, I think sitting down and thinking about, does it make us better? How does it fit what we want to do?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of great plays,
Sure.
schemes, but if we're going to add something, it's got to be able to fit our identity. And if we decide, okay, I believe this does help us, I think it does fit our identity, our personnel, so who does it the best? Let's try and learn how they coach it and they teach it, and then we try to take all that information and mold it into a way that we think fits us. And then over time, you learn, you know, you screw some things up, year after year, you figure out how to do it a little bit better. And,
Yeah. It continues to evolve.
absolutely.
Yeah. You know, in looking at, again, processes and how do you get to certain things, I know we always did. It wasn't always just, hey, I think I want to do this. There was something in our, you know, breakdown of that previous season that showed us some weaknesses Sometimes it showed us strengths. Sometimes it showed us opponent strengths that we needed to figure out a better way for. So it wasn't ever really based on a whim of, I like this, let's go do this. The thought started with, we have an issue. I do believe this is a solution to it. Sometimes those don't pan out and you don't go down that rabbit hole, but sometimes you say, yeah, I think I'm on to something. So, in doing that and looking at, the past season, breaking things down, what's the approach to really figure out the evolution? Because I think you're always looking at, how do we evolve this? Sometimes it's like you said, maybe I learn another way to teach this technique, or I learn another coaching point. But for you, how do you guys approach that?
I mean, looking at it, I try to zoom out after the season offensively, and even as the head coach with our football team as a whole, but offense specifically, try to zoom out. And obviously, coaches, we have a very biased look at our own team, and try to pull back and look at it from an opponent's point of view. Look at the raw data for a play, have certain metrics for efficiency that we think a play is efficient or not. Success rate, there's all the analytics and all that stuff that, some of that stuff goes over my head a little bit. But trying to evaluate which parts of our offense will work the best, what aren't we doing, here's our philosophy, here's how we want to attack, but maybe we're lacking in certain areas, or whatever it may be. But with a passing play like 4 verts, we look at yards per attempt is a stat that I have always used and like. Scramble rate, sack rate, like different things, and for each part of our passing game, for example, to try to see what where are we taking the most negative plays, where are we at the most at risk. On the flip side, where are we making our most explosive plays, which concepts are our most efficient. And then trying to either the parts of our offense that weren't as effective, do we need to carve those out and spend more time on the things that are good, that we are good at, or can we invest more time or coach it a different way or research it better, the things that we aren't so good at, and try to make those more effective.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at those things is a big help. And I heard this in a podcast that shared a clinic talk, part of a clinic talk from Nick Sheridan, who's a tight ends coach now at Washington, where he was talking about really looking at who are the teams on your schedule, who are the best, and you really need to build to beat. Because I don't care what level you're at, this is true across. Now, it may be more disparity sometimes at the high school level, and more schools that you could probably line up and beat with anything, but ultimately, though, there's those 2 or 3 that either, even if you've been beating, they're playing you pretty tight, or maybe you haven't beat, that what is it that's going to help me beat these guys? And usually if you can build for that,
you're building for all the rest.
You're building for all the rest. So that play that maybe is really successful against those other teams, if it's not working against them, you got to – the numbers skew, right? So sometimes you got to look at things, drill down more than, this is efficient 55% across the season. But when you get to those 2 or 3, maybe it was 25. So you still have to look at those too.
Totally. Yeah, totally agree. And that is something that, we look at, like you said, the best teams on our schedule. I think, some of the teams, we play the Cortland game against Ithaca College. Great rivalry, great team. That would be an example for us at Cortland at, trying to figure out how we can be successful against them, and that would carry over for everything else. But I going back to it, what we try to avoid is getting out of who we are.
Yeah, identities.
Yeah, because it's easy in to go down the rabbit hole and trying to chase success when finding new things isn't always the right answer. A lot of times it's figuring out how to coach what you already have and coach it a little bit better, make the players better at it.
Yeah. So. It goes back to the philosophy. I've always felt like, again, to me, it's always a process. You always gotta sometimes go back to the beginning of things. It starts with the philosophy and who we are, what we want to be, and seeing how it fits there. Like if I said, as an example, we're going to be a downhill run team, and that's in our philosophy of who we want to be, and I find myself with all this stuff that goes more horizontal, like, okay, why are we here? is this still who we are? If it's not, then what is our identity? Like, that identity part is really important. It kind of grounds like everything that you're going to do, right? Yep. And so you go back to that. And I think a lot of times it's like if you strayed away from it, rather than I'm going to change my identity, is like, this is what we believe, and yes, we still have the personnel to do this. Then how do you get back to that? How do you get better at it?
Yeah. And there's always different answers on how to find success within your belief system. But going back to what we believe in, trying to stress the defense horizontally, and if we have the speed vertically, and that, I talked about 4 verts, but that could be anything in the RPO world, attachments to the running game, throwing bubble screens, key screens, RPOs, inside zone, RPO to the side, out cuts, whatever it is, right? Find ways to do what you believe in. I think we've done a pretty good job of that, but we're always at clinics like this to try to learn new ways from other people to help make us a little better.
Yeah, I think then once you establish that hang your hat on play, right, that base play or whatever is going to be a big portion of your offense, and then it's starting to figure out the complements around it, right? Like, this is what we're going to build on, but what really fits well with this and why, right? Like, for us, when we went to 4 verts, and we were rarely, unless maybe we would tag it with some play action, we were doing a lot of switch verts because of the receivers we had, that there weren't a lot of our guys who were going to run on flat out speed. Sure. Not that that's always, you're not throwing a ball really over 22 in 4 verts, but still you had guys who were going to get to those areas quick if you were running it straight. So we found ourselves doing a lot of switch releases, which changed the timing, helped the timing a little bit, open windows in different places. Yep. That was an important part to us. So there was a lot of the switch releases, and then as we looked at it, so guys thinking they could just hang back and play some cushion on you and be in that area where you want to throw the ball was, okay, well, you know what, spacing fits well with this, and we're running those same initial stems off of it, but we're snapping things down, and now we're throwing the ball in front of them when they want to play loose. So we had those built-in complements.
Some compliments,
yeah.
That's right.
How do you go about finding those, installing those, finding that fit for, this really works well with this base concept?
Yeah, and balancing the passing game. You're right on the money with that. One thing that I like to do, let's take 3x1 passing game. One exercise that I like to do in the off season, in fact I just did it last week, is I try to take however many 3-man concepts that you carry. Maybe you carry, we carry anywhere between 6 and 8 concepts, 3 receivers in a pattern together. Like you mentioned with the 4 verts and spacing, I like to draw all of our pass game concepts on the board at once, and making sure that we're attacking all different layers of the coverage. And so if we draw certain plays up and there's one area on the field that has no lines going through it, we're probably not attacking the defense the right way. It's a great exercise. Yeah. I always like it. It gives me a peace of mind knowing that no matter what coverages we see, we can attack different areas on the field. It's something quick and easy to do, but it's a neat exercise just to know that, if all your plays are attacking the flat, how many different ways do you need to be able to throw the ball in one area? You got to be able to hit them all. So
yeah, no, I agree. That overlay, I think, is really important because you want a package of plays that attacks across the entire defense. It attacks essentially every gap on the run, that attacks every intermediate, every short, every deep. Somehow you want to see something going in the package, something going to that area. When you don't, that now with a coordinator who studies you well, he's saying our help can come from here because they never attack here.
No doubt, yeah. So there's a lot of ways to do things in football, but it's harder, I think, to say no and having the discipline to say we're good when you have a new scheme than it is to. It's easy to love everything you see, but having the discipline to know what fits your identity, I think that's where the magic is.
Yeah, you have to have those things because I like when people bring ideas back, and that could be at this time of the year, that could be during the game week when everybody's breaking things down and your coaches find, hey, I think this is a weakness we can exploit. And it usually starts with, here's an idea how we could do it. And I always, I got to the point early on, I'd get excited about this. And I learned by doing that, while that idea might seem good on a Sunday or a Monday, especially when I'm the play caller, I probably
when do you practice
can't.
It?
Yeah, I can't get it. Even if it practices and looks well, it's not in my mindset because it's not who we are. It's not what
part
we
of what
do.
you do.
It's a little bit different. So I'd always tell them, like, take that. Here's the process. I want you to have ideas, but because I probably will never call it because it doesn't fit, figure out what we have that fits. And I think that's a good process because you never want to shut down. You say no too many times, you shut down that innovation.
Yeah,
you shut down your people's
You definitely want to foster an open communication within your staff. But like you said, as a coach, I love new ideas being brought to the table. As a coach, I think you just got to follow your instinct on whether or not you can get that done or not. It's one thing to draw it on a board on Sunday night late. We've all been in those meeting rooms late into the hours on Sunday night.
Always seems like a good idea.
And Monday, yeah, seems like a great idea. And then you wake up Monday morning. It's like, how am I going to get the players by Saturday to be able to execute this at a high level? And sometimes you can, or you might need to. There's also I think there's a difference between needing something and wanting something.
Yeah.
If you need something new to try to beat your opponent on Saturday, then you'll do what you have to do to put it in. If it's just something extra, but maybe you don't need it, if you can't practice it, probably isn't worth it.
Yeah, I had Andy Kotelnicki while he was at Buffalo, sat down with him here at this clinic a few years ago. And he gave a great clinic talk on making football finite. That, I apologize for the noise in the background. It's what happens when you're at a clinic here. But being able to make the game finite, and really goes to how many reps do you have in practice?
Yeah.
I became so fanatical about reps. You can't waste reps.
Yep.
So you really got to be sure on Sunday or Monday, rather than having a hunch, like, we are going to take things away from our reps if we put it into this. You really want to make sure that early on.
Yeah, I think the feel of a coach, of knowing, and you can relate to this, trying to know when enough reps is enough. Have we run this play enough to be good at it on Saturday? And over time, as you add new things,
cumulative effect.
Yeah,
reps,
right. Like, do we need to run this? We've been running this play since day one of preseason camp. Do we need to run it 5 times this week by the end of the season? 3 times? 2? Like, how many times can we get away with repping it and still execute it in the game? I don't think there's any definitive way to do that. I think that's part of coaching.
It's the
and
art of it.
why we get paid to do what we do.
Right. Exactly. Well, a lot of decisions along the way, and before we get too much here coming through our mics, I really appreciate you sitting down with me again, seeing you here at this clinic again, and the success that you guys have had at Cortland. It's been fun to watch. So great to catch up with you. Look forward to talking to you more in the future, and best of luck to you and the Dragons in 2023.
Thanks, Heath. Thanks for what you do for the coaching community. Much appreciated.